We're going to go into one of our top stories. I am going to try to get to bad tweets, although people sent me some bad tweets. The problem is I got the two of the ones that I got. Yes, they were bad, but they were abhorrent and they're not fun to make fun of. So I don't know that I even want to, I don't know when I want to do it.
Funny bad tweets, guys.
Yeah. Like I want someone just sounding stupid. I don't want someone sounding like horrible. But let's go. Mr. McMahon, a documentary series chronicling the rise and fall of WWE's controversial founder, is coming to Netflix on September 25th from Chris Smith, executive producer of Tiger King, and one Bill Simmons, including interviews with McMahon prior to his resignation, his family, and some of the most iconic names in wrestling history, as well as the journalists who uncovered the McMahon's allegations. So we are finally going to get this McMahon documentary on September 25th.
I have no faith that Netflix or Bill Simmons will do justice to this story. I don't.
I don't either. Let me just say, I did enjoy the Andre the Giant documentary. Just because I like to look back at the old stuff. I like to hear the old stories, even if some of them are not true. But he put on a bunch of quote unquote journalists who were essentially just fanboys regurgitating what they saw on TV. They weren't really trying to get to the truth behind it. So, but after that, I ended up buying Pat LaProde's book so that way I can get to some of the real history of Andre the Giant.
I say this is the guy who majored in documentary filmmaking. He's got a handful of docs under his belt. Like, they're not trustworthy. Like, anytime you're working with WWE to get a story, you're going to get their slant on everything. So I have no, and I don't, this might get me heat with people we know. I don't like Bill Simmons all that much, but as far as his wrestling content goes.
No,
like, I don't like any of it. I think it's not good. I don't think any of those ringer shows are any good. I'm sorry. I know we know people on them, but they're also WWE, yay, rah, rah. Like, I just don't trust any of it not to be, trash.
I don't really have an opinion on the Ring of Wrestling shows because I've never once fucking listened to them, because I know I see what they talk about and I figure these are just WWE fanboys. They're not actually out to give honest opinions and reactions to things. They're just, like you said, rah, WWE type stuff. They want to be in the club.
Yep.
Right. Which is funny because Bill Simmons made his reputation for being kind of like controversial figure in NBA and NFL coverage, trying to expose the truth. But because wrestling is so unserious, they don't do the same thing with wrestling. They don't have the same amount of respect for it. So they just want to be a part of the show.
Are you talking about Bill Simmons or Ariel Helwani?
Ariel Helwani, probably the most prominent MMA reporter we've ever had. And he just does not have any respect for pro wrestling. So he thinks it's funny to kind of be in the world and poke fun at the people who take it seriously. Right. And he kind of gets used in that manner. So, and it wouldn't shock me to see him have a role on this documentary series, to be honest with you.
That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Probably see Sam Roberts or something like that. Just their media friendlies. Like, now, especially Netflix is like a WWE partner. It's like, how can I expect them to be honest with any of this stuff? I have zero respect. I'm not going to, if Dave says it's a good documentary, I'll watch. But until I hear anything like that, I'm out. I'm not even interested.
I'm going to watch because we need content for the show.
That's actually a really good point.
And part of our show is going to be calling bullshit on it. So I think we should. Yeah. And Io, shout out to Io. He already tagged us. He said that we need to have an ongoing segment, truth or bullshit. Like, that's going to be he named the segment for us. Is it true or is it bullshit?
Okay. I actually like that.
Yeah. Talking about the Vince documentary. I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to make fun of it and call bullshit on everything they say, well, now I can get into it. Now I don't feel bad watching it.
All right. You got me, Io.
Yeah, he said, yeah, truth or bullshit. He tagged us on Twitter. So, hey, he's a Patreon subscriber, so we gotta come with it. So, but yeah, so that's coming out September 25th. So we'll be on the lookout. So before we get into bad tweets, and guys, bad tweets is coming. Oh, hold on. This is a good point on that documentary. Thurston said that no Janelle Grant mentioned in the doc. I think they didn't interview Janelle Grant. I'm not saying we don't know that they mentioned him because the doc has not been released yet. But Thurston said they did not interview Janelle Grant, or I don't know if they interviewed the lawyer. I don't know what Janelle Grant or anybody would be allowed to say in public on that deal. I don't even. They might have asked her and she said no, but all we know is that she's not in the documentary. So we'll just leave it at that.
She got an ongoing lawsuit, and when you have an ongoing lawsuit, you're not going to play for media friendlies, even if like that doesn't surprise me. If they don't even mention her, then it's just like I have zero respect for any of these people, which I don't anyway. So
Yep. So John Moxley returned to Dynamite last night. He did a very interesting interview that he gave. He looks like he flipped heel. He's been heel in the company before, but he's always been kind of like a tweener type of guy. But he flipped heel, and then at one point he made a remark that was eerily similar to one Scott Hall from '96. I don't know if that means anything, but talking about Tony, this is not your company anymore. Something to that effect. He was talking to Tony Schiavone, but Tony Schiavone had an earpiece on, and the other side of the earpiece was Tony Khan, and they have conditioned the audience to know that the messages that Tony Schiavone is saying is coming from Tony Khan. Right, a bit convoluted. They need to probably hammer that message home a little bit more, but I picked up what he was trying to get at.
I did not. I'm glad you pointed it out to me. I was really confused.
Okay, yeah. So he was talking to Tony Schiavone, but Tony Schiavone had an earpiece, so he was really talking to Tony Khan, saying this is not your company anymore. And then later in the show, him and what's her name?
Marina
Shafir are beating up some enhancement guys, some J words in the back, and jabrones. We can say jabrones, right?
Yeah,
we just can't say jobbers.
Yeah, jabrones.
Jabrones. We can say jabrones. Yeah, in the back, some local talent that are working in security, they're beating their asses. So it looks like, he's bringing back some type of like Fight Club gimmick. It's all over Twitter. All people are talking about it. A lot of people are insinuating that maybe this is the Shane O'Mac thing. We've talked about Shane O'Mac before. I don't know. Shane McMahon is like that's a more of a believe it when I see it type of thing.
I could actually see Shane McMahon coming in. I could see Tony really wanting to work with the quote unquote good McMahon, right? I could see that. I don't see how Shane McMahon connects to whatever Moxley's doing. I can't see John Moxley, who has control of his own creative, saying, you know who I really want involved in this new storyline of mine? Shane McMahon. Yeah. Like, that doesn't work for me, brother. I'm not saying I'm not going to shit on it. Like we had our I forget who we were tweeting. You and I have a text with so many people. I forget who this one was with. I said, well, I'm not going to shit on any storyline before it plays out. My favorite book of all time is about an alien who eats children's fear and who was essentially defeated by the equivalent of clapping for Tinkerbell. That's it. That's it. That's how they beat Pennywise. And it's the best book I've ever read. But when I don't want to shit on anything before I see it because it could work. But Dreamcatcher was a big piece of shit. So anything, even the greats can fart out some bad ones here and there. So I'm not. Yeah. I'm very cautiously optimistic, but I just don't see how you include Shane McMahon unless it's like the Raw Underground thing from like 2020. I can't see
and
that.
Then John Moxley. I think John Moxley and Shane are probably friends. I think they're both big UFC fans and MMA fans. In fact, our old website that we worked for, Fight Game Media, before you and I started our podcast, John Moxley had a podcast on there with Garrett Gonzalez doing UFC recaps and UFC previews me and Garrett had heat because I never got invited on that show, and I kept begging him. I was like, bro, you have me call in when it's like Rafael Sunsao and these other cats on these small UFC shows and Moxley's not there. But when Moxley's there, it's the biggest show, and you fucking call Justin Nipper, our buddy.
Our buddy. Burying our buddy.
So he's a big MMA guy. I know Shane's a big MMA guy. He did the underground thing. At one point, I think he wanted to buy the UFC. So I'm pretty sure that, look, let's just say they're probably friends. I think they're probably friends. But I did see somebody tweet out that it would be it would be a statement move to have Shane McMahon debut in New York at Arthur Ashe Stadium. If there were actually people in that stadium, I would agree, but there's only 4,000 in a 20,000 seat arena.
Yeah, I don't, they shouldn't be running Arthur Ashe. I know Tony is like idiosyncratic with how he wants these things run, but you got to move it. They should move that show somewhere else. Run like the Hammerstein or something like that. Like, do something cool like that if you have that many people there. But I guess you got contracts locked in. So I understand where you're coming from on that. Debuting a McMahon in the company, and I get why Tony would want to do it. He like, I'm gonna have a McMahon on my show. Like, because I was talking to my wife does not like pro wrestling at all. And we were just bullshitting before the show started. And I said, guess who the rumor is coming to AEW? And she just rolls her eyes. She goes, who? Like, she does not care. And I said, Shane McMahon. And she actually picked her head up from her phone and went, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those. I'm like, no, that's the story. And she went, that's crazy. And then from my wife, who's not even a casual wrestling fan, she's not even a casual wrestling tolerist. Like, for her to sit there and go, I can understand why Tony would want to do it. And I'm not going to shit on it. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's not what I want from my company, because it isn't what I want from this company, but they don't do what I want. So, I mean, like, that ship sailed a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, like, I get why he's going to do it. If this is the way to do it and Moxley is in control of it, okay. But I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You're not going to shit on it before it happens, but I will, because I think it sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah.
The last thing I want is Shane McMahon in that company. And, but it, like, I do have a weird curiosity to see AEW fans turn themselves into pretzels to say how much they like Shane McMahon in AEW, because they were shitting on that guy when he was on Raw all those years.
Sure were.
You know what I mean? So I love that. I love hypocrisy in pro wrestling fandom. It's one of my favorite things. I love it in sports. I love it in politics, and I love pointing it out. So I cannot wait to see that. I tweeted out like a month ago when it was first rumored that he could be coming in, that like AEW fans are slowly talking themselves into it. And they are. They're still talking themselves into it.
Did you listen to me on this show last month? Like,
yeah. I'm at, like you. It's like we can see JD slowly like, maybe it wouldn't be so. My wife likes it. Maybe it would.
I don't hate Shane McMahon. I think I enjoy watching an old man who's really sweaty jump off things. That mildly entertains me. If I have to put up with a McMahon, I would rather put up with Shane than any of them. I'll take if a building's on fire and I have to save either Shane McMahon or the brother-in-law, I'm going to save Shane McMahon. Right? I will let the brother-in-law stay in there. I'll save Shane. That's it. Like, I think he's like, I'm trying to find the right analogy. Like, he's a vegetable that I would eat. Like, he's not Brussels sprouts. I'm not leaving him on the plate. I've always kind of felt that way. But I don't love it. But I'm willing to be won over. Maybe.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it works out.